What's up, guys, and welcome back to episode 24 of the podcast. Today we're going to discuss how to improve your rest and recovery states and how to make the best out of them, because I know a lot of people now who are working, especially when you're working from home, you're always in a high stress state, and then you don't take, a lot of people that I'm working with at the moment aren't taking time off, so they're just going straight from work and they're falling into bad habits that is keeping them in a high alert state, and they're never getting the best out of their recovery. So it's something I've been talking a lot about with clients recently, how to make the best out of your recovery and how to really improve your adaptation, I suppose, your adaptation to any stimulus. So if you're going to be training, if you're going to be exercising, you obviously need to train first, but to get the benefits of that, you need to take time off to recover fully. So that's what this episode of the podcast is going to be about, how to get physiological and psychological recovery from stress. Now, before I jump into the podcast, I'm going to talk just a quick or small bit about my new mobility program that's out at the moment. So it's my foundational mobility program. It's available on my website, and it basically targets different areas of the body, but it focuses around the hips, back and shoulders. And the goal of the program is to improve mobility and improve range of motion around your hips, back and shoulders, but also to reduce pain and tightness around those areas. And then on top of that, because it has beginner and advanced versions of every exercise, you will have a better understanding of how to structure your own mobility sessions in future when you want to. And then it'll also give you good variety of exercises to use. So that's available on my website at themobilitytutor.com. And you can also, if you look at my Instagram, you can see there's a link in my bio that will bring you straight to it. But to get started today, I want to just talk a quick bit on why rest and recovery is important, and like why should you be focusing on it. Now, a lot of people are focusing, and obviously there's two sides of any kind, but a lot of people are focusing on this time of the year, and as they get back into training, trying to get as much training done as possible and trying to work as much as possible so they can, let's say, relax over the summer, and they can get into, once they actually get back on the field, that they are in top fitness or top shape. Now, it's really important to understand that the body works in this yin and yang type of model. So basically, because if you're stressing yourself, you need to have, let's say, if stress is yin, the recovery is yang, okay? And it's really important to think about it like that, so that you know that when one's on, the other one can't be on, and then when the other one is on, the other one should be turned off, okay? So we're breaking them up between the two, and we're working between the two all the time. And on a physiological level, the easiest way to think about it is rest is when you're in a parasympathetic state. So that's when your nervous system's tone is turned down to a parasympathetic low alert state. And then a stressful state would be a high alert sympathetic tone. Okay. And in society today, a lot of people are toned more towards that sympathetic tone. And I talk a lot about that in the different podcasts that I've done, and how that relates to pain, and how that can relate to, or how it can affect your sleep and your hydration and your performance. So it's important to be able to turn one on and then turn the other one off. Okay, and they also talk about this with heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is showing you want to have good heart rate variability, or a lot of variability, to show that your body is able to get into and out of both states, and that it's not just stuck in a fight or flight state. So remember, really quickly, sympathetic tone is a fight or flight state. Parasympathetic tone is going to be a rest and digest state. So why is it important? Well, rest and recovery is extremely important because it gives the body time to recuperate and to heal itself. Now, it's also going to, because it does that, it's going to reduce any fatigue that you have, and it's going to restore energy, so that you, every day when you get up, and sleep is probably the best way to think about it, because when you're sleeping, you're doing nothing and you're recovering and you're resting, and then when you get up in the morning, you have more energy. If you miss a night's sleep, you'll have very little energy the next day, and you might run on a second wind for a small while, but you won't be able to consistently do that. So it gives that body time to recuperate and heal, and then, as I said, it restores your fatigue, or it restores energy and it reduces fatigue, but it also improves your concentration and focus. And this is something I've touched on. I had a podcast on accelerated learning, and really what we were looking at in that podcast, and anyone that wants to go back to that, it was number 7 or 8. In that podcast, what we looked at was, if you're in an intense focus or intense concentration, you can't sustain that for a couple of hours. So you actually have to break your attention to let the body relax so you can get back into the same intense focus or concentration. And the simple ways of doing that, it could just be looking at the horizon for a couple of seconds. It could be just changing your point of view. Anything like that, it'll all help and it'll all work. When it comes to sport, then rest and recovery is going to be really important because of the fact that obviously you're going to be stressing the body physiologically. You're going to be running and sprinting and jumping and sidestepping and taking hits and that. So you're putting it under a severe amount of pressure. It's going to need time to adapt to that. And the only time it's going to adapt is when it's in a recovery state. And you'll see that people who never take this time, and this is it really all of us, not as a population, but everyone, when you notice that you're not taking enough time to recover and you're not managing your load properly, you will get overuse injuries like tendinopathies, and your increased risk of muscle injuries as well, and increased risk of ligament injuries. So it's really important to take time to recover and let the body recuperate after you exercise. And that's why they include rest weeks. When you're training with someone, if you're training online with somebody, you'll include rest weeks, because if you don't, the body's going to just keep getting stressed, and it's never going to take time to recover. And if it doesn't take time to recover, it'll start to break down and degenerate, because you're always stuck in that high, that sympathetic state, and you never come into the parasympathetic rest digest state. So you are looking, as I said, you're trying to turn down that tone all the time, but the easiest way to think about turning down that tone is think of low attention, think of a more relaxed state. And that's going to carry through this podcast. You'll hear me saying that over and over again. That's the state we're looking for when we're looking for rest and recovery. So what's affecting rest and recovery itself? What things are you doing on a day-to-day that could be affecting your ability to recover? Well, firstly, if we think about those two states, that sympathetic, which is high tone, fight or flight, parasympathetic, low tone, rest digest. Fight or flight state is a response to stress, and it's a response to physiological stress or psychological stress. So it could be that you're after running a 5K, or it could be that you're fighting with your manager at work, and it could be that you are late for work and that you're in a stressful job and there's a lot of things put on you and you have to get them all done in a certain time frame, and you're always worrying about your job. Because of that, you're in a stress state a lot of the time. And if you're in that fight or flight state, the body never gets a chance. The parts of the body that would be associated with recovery and your blood vessels and your heart and your lungs and your nervous system, all those areas that would be associated, that need to be turned down, I suppose, to recover, they never get a chance to turn down. So your blood pressure is going to be really high, and your breathing rate is going to be really fast. And because of that, then you're sending these stressful signals to the body, to your brain, and then it's keeping you in a state that you're trying to get out of. So it's keeping you in an evasive state or a combat state, and that is that fight or flight state. So that fight or flight state isn't made for recovery. And I've talked about it 100 times in different podcasts, how if you're in the wild, that's a perfect state to get away from a lion or get away from a tiger, to get out of a situation that you're in danger. And it's an excellent response once it's used short term, but long term it's not a good response, because it turns off different parts of different systems in your body that you need to recover. Like a really good book by Robert Sapolsky, I think is how you say it, is Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And the main aim of the book is to discuss how stress affects different things. But really, I suppose, looking at the cover of the book and looking at the name of the book, the reason zebras don't get ulcers is because ulcers are generally associated with long-term chronic stress. And it's that the body is always in a state of high alertness, and it's always in a fight or flight state, and it doesn't take the time to recover, or it doesn't take the time to heal the parts of, let's say, your stomach that are going to be affected when it is in a high alert state. And because of that, then these ulcers develop, and they'll keep getting worse and worse unless you give it time to recover. So stress is the biggest one. Stress is your biggest one affecting your recovery. And then when we look at stress and we look at what a high alert state is and what brings you into that, there's lots of different things. So there's, as I said, physiological stress, that you're just overtraining and that you're training too much. And for the majority of people, that's not going to be an issue. and especially younger people, it's not going to be an issue as much because a lot of them don't get into that position that they're training, let's say 3-4 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. What's happening to a lot of people, and I would say it'd be closer, it'd be more comparable, would be that they're training a lot and then they're spending the rest of the time on their phone. And because they're on their phone, they're still in that high alert, high concentration state, and they're still in that sympathetic state. So because your phone is attention grabbing, it can be, let's say social media can be stressful in ways. You could be waiting to, let's say, hoping to get more likes, or you could be seeing different things that's going on. It could be absolutely anything. On social media, it is usually a high alert state, high concentration state, and that's why it works so well, and that's why it's so addictive. So because you're watching that all the time, then you're in that state of fight or flight, even though you might not know it. And you're not. I'm not saying that you're in a complete high, I'm not saying that you're on the same level as if you did see a lion or a tiger in the wild. But if you think of that tone as a dial, you're probably up around about a 6 or a 7, which is above average. And if your rest and digest state is around about a 2 or a 3, you're never given a time to come back down to that. And it might come down for a couple of minutes, but then it's going to come back up again when you get back on your phone. So think of it as a dial for the rest of this podcast, and how you're trying to turn that dial from a 7 or 8 down to a 1 or 2 all the time. And how could you do that? Now, other things that are going to affect rest and recovery would be things like sleep, because obviously sleep is your main time to relax down, and it's your main time to let the body heal. So sleep is going to be really important, and that's sleep quantity and sleep quality. So just sleep quantity in itself isn't going to be the most important thing. You need to focus on, when you're going to sleep, that you're getting the best quality sleep. And there's a couple of sleep hygiene behaviors that you can do to reduce or to improve your quality. But there's a lot of things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep, and keeping it consistently. A sleep and wake cycle is one, so the body knows. Other things could be as simple as just not being on your phone 2 hours before you go to bed, dimming the lights in the evening time, things like that. They're all going to be excellent for your sleep and improve your sleep quality. Now, sleep quantity is going to be obviously that 7 to 8 hour mark that you're trying to hit all the time. If you're consistently hitting 5 hours, 5.5 hours of sleep, you're going to find that when you are training, you're going to be fatigued, you're not going to recover properly, and you're not going to see the gains that you want to see. Even though you're taking the time to train, you're not taking the time to recover. And a lot of bodybuilders talk about this, and bodybuilders are a good example because of the physiological stress they put themselves through every day. A lot of bodybuilders talk about recovery being the most important part. So there's big, like Dorian Yates, who would have been one of the most famous. He talks about only training 2 to 3 days a week, but training intensely hard and taking the rest of the week off to recover. Now, obviously they're taking anabolic steroids as well, which is going to help them recover. But they still need to recover, and they still need to give the body a chance. It's not going to recover in itself just from taking a load of steroids and just gymming all the time. They need that time to recover, and they need that time to heal. And the time they're going to do that is on their rest days or rest weeks. So even people, or even elite athletes, need the same thing. They need time to relax and time to recover. And the ones that don't stay around too long. The ones that don't take that time to recover don't stay around and can't stay around too long, because the body can't just take that load all the time. Other things then affecting your recovery would be like your hydration. Are you drinking enough water every day? If you're not drinking enough water, obviously water is involved in so many different functions in the body that if you aren't taking in enough water, all those functions will start to break down. And even looking at your joint itself, the synovial fluid in your joints, which is a fluid, or it's a water-based fluid that helps bring nutrients and helps to lubricate the joints. And if you don't have enough water in your system, you're obviously not going to be able to lubricate the joints as much, and you're going to increase your risk of osteoarthritis as you get older. So there's just another few things. But what I would say, taking what affects rest and recovery, I would say look at that, what's causing you to go into a high alert state. Simple things like being on your phone, being on watching TV late at night, stuff like that is going to affect you getting into a recovery state, or helping you turn that dial down, let's say. Now, how can you manage your stress, or how can you manage your high alert states better? Really simple ways, as I said, using that dial. So turning it down from a 7 and 8 to a 1 or 2, and turning it down from sympathetic to a parasympathetic. What can we do? Now, easy ones you can do would be like changing your focus and attention to something else. So if you're focused on a laptop all day, or you're focused on a computer all day, and you're in a high energy environment or high stress environment at work, it's maybe just stepping back from work and going for a walk in the evenings, where you can just help yourself relax down, help the body relax down, help the mind relax down as well, so it's not overactive. Now, if you do that, that's just one way of changing your focus and attention. Really what we're thinking of is low attention states. So think of that yin and yang again. If one of them is a high alert state, really focused, getting loads of stuff done, the other one is a low alert state, not really focused on too much and relaxed and just kind of going with the flow, doing your own thing. So as I was saying, walks, soft music, meditation is excellent because it takes you away. It's just another way of breaking that cycle of always being locked in on focus on everything you're doing. Really simple one, and something that I see in the next 10 to 15 years being introduced into the workplace a bit more would be napping, and like taking a 15 to 20 minute nap in a day just to help yourself relax down. You'd be so surprised how much energy you have after you do that. So if there's anyone that's working at home at the moment and they have the opportunity, lie down for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 26 minutes is really what NASA suggests if you're looking for something very specific. You don't want to go too much longer than 30 minutes or 40 minutes though, because it might affect your sleep that night and you can be a bit groggy when you're getting up out of it. So 15, 20 minutes lying down, closing your eyes, it actually doesn't make that much of a difference if you're napping or not. You can take these things called non-sleep rests and they're just as good. And with a non-sleep rest, it's just that the body is in a relaxed state and that tone is really turned down to a parasympathetic tone. So taking the time to literally just lie down and relax is just as good. And the other way I would say of thinking of a low attention state, and this new one that's called, let's say, TikTok, that's out in the last couple of years, is definitely one to be avoided because of the fact that it's so attention grabbing. You swipe for one video, the next one is a complete change, but it's just as it grabs your attention just as much. Instagram is the same, but it's not as it is the same. Like it's exact on the same level. But I'm just finding TikTok at the moment is extremely addictive for young kids as well, and it's stimulating in a way in that it's always something that you should watch, or nearly always something that you should watch. So avoiding screen time as much as possible. And even transitioning, if you're reading books on your phone or a laptop or anything like that, that's perfect. But even transitioning from there to actually reading normal books, I should say. So reading off a page is just as good, or is better, because you're getting rid of that light that you're taking into your body, and it's a change of environment as well. So think about changing your environment and how you can do that and how you can help yourself relax when you do that. So screen time is a really, really important one, and it's kind of one of the main ones that I want to push on it with improving your rest and recovery. Because if you're training hard and then you're spending the rest of your time on your phone swiping or doing different things like that, that's not exactly a recovery state. It's not akin to a recovery state. And people do feel, because I'm just going to chill out here and go on my phone for 15 or 20 minutes, your brain is still in high alert and your nervous system is still in high alert because you're on that. So something that I push with all clients that I work with and the athletes that I work with especially is that if you're training hard, you're training 3 to 4 days a week, 5 days a week, it's really important to try turn down that dial by reducing your screen time. Because a lot of people get caught in the cycle of, because they're training hard, to reduce their screen time, because they're training hard already, to help them relax is just lie down and take out their phone and go on it. But it is keeping you in that high alert state. So that's really the one I want to push today about improving quality of your rest and recovery, is reduce your screen time, change your environment. So changing your environment, as I said, anything to go, it could be going for a walk, it could be doing a meditation, it could just be going out and sitting in a field, it could be sitting by the beach, it could be watching the waves, anything like that. Just relax. You don't need to be focused on anything too much. Just make sure you change the environment so that it's a different one, so that your body can just relax and I suppose I want to say defocus, but I don't think that's a word. So your concentration can just relax down as well. But guys, I'm going to keep this one short today. That's everything I wanted to talk about in terms of improving quality of rest and recovery. I think for this one, the takeaways that I want people to take, like for what I want you to take away from this, is the fact that rest and recovery doesn't just mean sitting down and looking at your phone and taking out your phone. Rest and recovery means changing your environment so that you can so that the body can turn that nervous system tone down to a more relaxed one, which is that parasympathetic state. And because of that, then you will feel better, you will recover faster, and that can be recovered from anything, even just from work. You won't be as fatigued, and you will be feeling a lot more energetic. And they're really, really important things to note, because if you don't do that, it could be another 2, 3 months, 4 months before you notice that the body is actually, or before you are extremely fatigued and you're not sleeping properly. So just guys, that's all I wanted to put across today. We're looking to take down that stressful state. The easiest way is changing your environment, improving your sleep and sleep quality and quantity. And I've done podcasts on that before, so check that out. They're one of the first 5 podcasts on sleep and hydration was in the last 5 podcasts that I've done. And then anything like, obviously exercising is excellent. Exercising is a great way of bringing up your stress level really high, but then dropping it down really low after that. So that's another really good way of doing it. Other than that, guys, I was going to say that if anyone is interested in working one-to-one with myself, send me an email at mobilitytutor@gmail.com. The majority of my clients are people who have long-term injuries, chronic injuries, and not just sports people now, it could be anything at all, and they just want to get over them. They want to get them finally fixed and get them right again, so they can start doing the things they love again. Because a lot of people, because they get an injury, they stop doing the things that they love, and then slowly but surely they fall into the habit of they can't do it anymore. So a lot of my clients, we're just building that back up, building them up to the state that they can do whatever they want again. So if anyone's interested, send me an email at mobilitytutor@gmail.com, or you can even just write to me on Instagram or LinkedIn. But that's everything, guys. I hope you're all keeping safe and well in it with the way in our current climate. If anyone needs me, you can get in contact with me through Instagram or LinkedIn or email. I would love if you could rate this on iTunes if you took anything from it, and just let me know what you thought. Leave a comment even, and even better than that would be sharing it on your story or sending it to a friend, because word of mouth is the best way to get it out there. So if you took anything from this, I'd love if you could send it on to a friend, or even if you could just share it on your story. But yeah, that's all from me, guys. I hope you're having a good one, and I'll chat to you all again soon. Bye now.